So I want you to remember everything, all the words she said, because that's my talk. Oh, it's good to see all of you here today. Gosh. So when I was being trained to be a minister, my teacher really didn't tell me how many times I'd be eating humble pie as a minister. And a few weeks ago, I had another helping of humble pie in front of all of you. But I don't know if you know this or not, so I'll refresh your memory. So I was closing service, and there was a lot of fear in the room about finances, just a lot of fear. And I was feeling it. We were all kind of seeing it. And I thought, I'm going to do the Dr. Joe thing. And what Dr. Joe does when there's collective fear like that around anything, he likes to put into the room another possibility. Let's not buy into the fear and the constriction. Let's know what our source is. Our source is spirit, not what's going on in the world. So I laid it out there for everybody. And I swear, crickets. Nobody, it landed like a lead balloon. It was terrible. I'm standing up there going, oh my God, why did I do that? What? Read the room, Dale. Don't do that. But I realized that you guys weren't ready for it. You weren't ready for it to hear another possibility. And I realized after that happened that my next talk had to be imagine that. Because sometimes we're not ready to imagine things if we don't believe it's possible. And so today we're gonna look at how we can shift that around in the midst of life stuff and see how we can find that place to ignite our imagination. Are you ready? Right on. So fear blinds us so much that we are unable to imagine what is possible. And that's what was happening, what I tried to do that a few weeks ago. Everybody, well, I don't want to say everybody, a lot of people who were here were so immersed in fear that it was absolutely impossible to find and see another possibility that I was suggesting. And this happens in our lives all the time. It can happen through a diagnosis. It can happen through loss. Number of things can happen in our lives where we just go straight to fear and we cannot see an alternative, right? Has anybody ever had that happen? You feel that and you just get, and it just like, it cloaks itself around you. I've been there so many times in life, and I'm so grateful for this philosophy because I have the tools to not stay stuck. So Albert Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge, right? Coming from him, that says a lot. For knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world. Our imagination doesn't have just a finite set of ideas. It's infinite. And in this room, what we teach is that there's an infinite mind that we are all a part of, that we all are. And so nothing is impossible if we believe that. And so as Albert Einstein is saying, yeah, knowledge is great. It's great to fill our heads with a lot of facts and a lot of data, but imagination will take you everywhere. Because, you know, sometimes the facts and the data don't have the answer, right? So what are you imagining? Are you imagining HELL, or are you imagining castles in the sky, right? We don't realize how often we're engaged in our imagination. I would say 100% of the time, right? We're always creating, we're always looking at life and coming to assumptions and imagining. And I know there's a lot of imagining about the worst case scenario. The worst case scenario, right? You're doing this. How about imagining that? See, we have the ability to control our imagination. We really do. But so often we think we don't. We think that we have to buy into a certain belief that's rising into the world and the collective. But we don't have to believe that at all. So I say this, don't go down with the ship. Find a lifeboat, get in and move into calmer water. Because a lot of time with collective beliefs, we're in that boat, we're in that ship, and we're going down, right? Because the sky is falling. The worst thing is happening. Let's all be in that boat and just let it happen. I don't like that. Do you guys like that? Does that sound good to you? I say get a lifeboat, get off that boat, and sail away. Sail away. We don't have to engage in collective belief systems. And those people who stop doing that are the greatest heroes, I think, one of which is Ernest Holmes. He climbed out of that collective belief system of what religion is supposed to be, how you're supposed to see God. He got a lifeboat, and look what he brought to our world. a whole new way of seeing ourselves and spirituality that broke free of what we were being taught. So the thing is, we have to be willing to transform fear to faith. If we're not willing, it isn't going to happen. Now, you just have to be willing. You don't have to be all fully in faith if you're feeling afraid. You just have to say to yourself, you know what? I'm willing to move my consciousness. I may not know how. I may not know what I need to get spiritual support from to start to go there, but boy, am I willing. Willingness is the first step out. It's the first step off of that boat. So we just have to say, I am willing, and the rest takes care of itself. Muhammad Ali said, the man who has no imagination has no wings. I've always been a really big fan of wings and flight. And I think the reason why is because I don't like feeling like I'm stuck. And to me, wings are all about leaving that which is not serving and flying into greater territory. And that's what our imagination affords us. It gives us an opportunity in consciousness to leave beliefs that are keeping us stuck, fearful, upset, constricted, and break free into a greater consciousness that, guess what, already is inside of you. It is already there. You don't have to go get it. It's a matter of breaking free from what you are believing and move into a higher level of consciousness, the imagination, where everything is available for you. So where do we begin? Good question, right? Sounds good what I'm selling you, but I got to give you a roadmap, right? Gladly. So ask yourself this. Is what I'm imagining really what I want to endorse and bring into manifestation? Do I really want worst case scenario? Do you? No. And I know that collective belief system, all that stuff that we get really contaminated by, and with having so much internet access and so much information and misinformation just getting kind of like swept away in, we can start believing in stuff that has no truth to it. So ask yourself, do I want to endorse this? Because the more energy, what we're given energy to, manifests, collectively especially. So ask yourself, do I really want to give power to that? And if the answer is no, then stop. So does it have to be this way? People are always saying, this is the way it is, and it has to be that way. You got to accept it. I heard a really miraculous story. Somebody who comes to my sacred circle, her grandson had a diagnosis, and he had gone through some treatment, and everything was going really good. And then something else showed up. And she was talking about it. And whenever she talks to me about something, I go, it doesn't have to be that way. I always say that. Let's pray it up. And so they found something in a scan. And she said, they're going to have to do this, they're going to have to do that. I said, I'm praying it up. A week later, it disappeared. It disappeared because it didn't have to be that way. And there was another possibility. There was another possibility, and it showed up because she believed it, and we prayed it up. So this is the power of prayer. This is the power of consciousness. Y'all got to wake up and see how powerful you are and how your beliefs, your consciousness is creating this world as well as your own. So the creative process. We teach a thing called the creative process here. This is the easiest way for me to teach it to you. Not going to go into the jargon. It's seed, soil, plant. Our seeds. The seeds are our beliefs. Right? What's in our consciousness. Those have power. And they drop into a place that knows how to bring those beliefs and those ideas into the physical reality. So we believe and we teach that we all participate in that. Now you can participate consciously and create really good things in your life, or you can let your old beliefs do the creating for you and create a whole lot of garbage. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. But we teach that this is how the whole universe runs. I talked about what the Jewish religion brought in when I talked about the religions. Spiritual law. We use spiritual law in this center in a big and powerful way. And I see amazing things happen. So when we know how powerful the creative process is, when we know that we can use it productively and affirmatively, when we know that, we've just been given a whole lot of power. So Ernest Holmes said, there is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it. greater than you are, I would just say that would be like your ego mind, your relative reality, who you are as you think you are. But there's a greater you. There's a greater you that is spirit in its finest, in its purest. When we know that that power is for us to use and we start using it, then we can use our imagination, because that power is all about unlimited ideas, different ways of figuring out life. When stuff happens in life and this isn't working to figure it out, we go to a bigger place, the imagination where all ideas exist. Our source is not external, it is within us. I know we forget this a lot, don't we? It's easy, right? We're all engaged in this world. But that's not our source. Our source is not outside of us, it is inside of us. It is spirit. It is spirit. When we recognize that and acknowledge it, we realize that we are not dependent upon what is going on in the outside world. What we can do is turn to that power within ourselves and say, you know what? This doesn't know how to solve this. I know you do, Spirit. Come on in and bring forth and through your imagination that which will guide you into a new reality that is wonderful for you by tuning in. Our thoughts influence physical phenomena. They interact with all the matter in the universe. How many Joe Dispenza fans in the room? I know there's a few of you. Oh, yeah. So Joe Dispenza he's a contemporary author and amazing being who's really bridging the gap with what used to be taught about kind of like the linear way of doing life, right? He's into quantum physics, which means that there's an invisible substance that we all utilize through the power of our consciousness and especially our feeling state. That what we are really feeling strongly, there's this universal substance that acts upon that and brings it into form. And perhaps you've seen that in your life. The easiest way I can explain this to you really is when you're worried, right? You're really, really worried. You're worried and you're feeling that energy of worry. And what happens? You get an ulcer. That's the clearest way I can show you how feelings creates a physical reality, right? Makes sense. And it goes beyond that, though. It goes beyond that. If you're somebody who says, you know, life is always crappy, I'm saying that, I believe that, then that is what will happen in my life. Things will come into my life that aren't what I prefer. So your consciousness is big, and it does create the matter of your world. Life can only give you what you're mentally conditioned to accept. We set our bar. We set it either high or low. And even though you might not be able to see yourself stretching to a broader place to be able to accept more good, like I said earlier, just be willing. That is such the coolest thing I think about our philosophy and spirit. When I am willing and I say, let's do this, I don't have to figure out the how. It just starts to happen. It's like magic, but it's real. It is real. So we've got to look at what we're conditioned to think. What we're conditioned to think we're able to receive in our lives. If it's this little, that's all you're going to get. If it's huge, that's what you're going to get. And you know, this creative process, it doesn't judge. It doesn't say, oh, Dr. Laura, you get that little and you get... No, it doesn't care. You're the one that sets that up. We are the ones that set that up. So the good news is change begins with you. That's also the bad news. Change begins with you. Because sometimes it can feel like a lot and a hurdle and like, oh, I can never make that happen. Stop thinking that way. Be willing. Just be willing to grow. A change of circumstance happens as a result of a change in your state of consciousness. If my point hasn't gotten through to you, here we go again. Consciousness manifests. If you want to change your life, you got to change your belief system, your consciousness. It works together. And yes, this calls us into doing the work to see, what am I believing? What's in my consciousness that's creating my life? If you want the answers, look at your life. It'll be very clear to you. I've had some issues with some people the last month or so, or farther back than that. And I finally had what we might call a come to Jesus moment with myself. And I said, why do I keep creating this in my life? Why do I keep having to have this one person that I'm at odds with? You know, and I just sat with that because I had to stop thinking it was outside of myself. I had to say, no, I'm bringing this in. And it got me to think about my childhood. Go figure. And not a big deal. I didn't have to go analyzing everything. I just realized that as a child this was always happening. And I said to myself, maybe I just have this habit of needing to have this kind of energy in my life. And I just thought about that. And I'll tell you, it's a game changer. It's a game changer because I realized I'm carrying an energy that I feel is part of my life because it's normal to always have this. And I realized, let's stop thinking I have to have that in my life anymore. So I'll let you know how that goes. Raymond Charles Barker says, only your negatives prevent this spiritual action from refashioning your world, right? I've been talking about the spiritual law, the spiritual truths that we can use to create a better life. Our negatives aren't going to allow that to happen. That's what prevents it from blossoming and coming forward. When we're negative and we say, no, that's not for me, or that can't happen. Negatives are guideposts to detours for the creative process, right? We want the creative process to bring good, but if I'm negative, not so good's going to happen. They are the labyrinth in which the divine power is lost. I have to say, I don't know if the divine power is actually lost because it's always present, but it's definitely putting divine power in a manifestation that we may not really want to have. So we got to watch our negative thinking. And I hate saying that really because it's we say it all the time, but it's really true. We got to see where in our belief system are we negating anything or saying that can't be for me, or good isn't everywhere present. Those sorts of beliefs and statements, got to stop saying that because that's going to change our consciousness. So instead of meeting adversity and challenges with fear and constriction, let's meet them with faith and optimism. Really, I spoke earlier about how fear blinds us when things happen that constrict us and freak us out. So to just say it like that. But we have a point of choice to not do that. We have an ability to say, I'm going to not choose fear this time. I'm going to go to faith. And I get it. I am with you. I get in the fear too, and it shakes me up. But I've learned to wake myself up and say, I don't like this. I don't want to feel fear. I'm moving to faith. And I do my work that gets me there. Because I think we have the power to be able to not only affect the fear that we're feeling in our inner lives, but the more we're doing it in our personal lives, the more it's going to happen to other people because it's contagious. This consciousness is contagious. So Joe Dispenza says, anyone who embraces the hope for a miraculous outcome in his life may have to storm the fortress of conventional beliefs and risk being considered misguided, irrational, fanatic, or even insane. I've had that quite a bit. I'm an optimist. I'm an internal optimist. And there'll be times where somebody will present something just horrifying and there's no other possibility. And I will say, I don't believe that. And I'm not going to affirm that. Like I told you about the person whose grandson had a medical thing come up. And some people have called me crazy. Some people have called me irrational or, you're a Pollyanna or you're not a realist. I don't care. I don't care. You care? Because look at what we create here. Look what we create here when we risk being called crazy, insane for believing in a positive outcome, right? And it's up to us to hold that energy of a positive outcome. As a spiritual community, in your own lives, hold up that possibility of a positive outcome because if you do, it's going to happen. I will say this morning, it may not happen in the way you think it's supposed to, but it will. Our nature is to expand, evolve, and spiral upward. We have to let go of the lower energy in order to rise to the higher. I truly believe that we are wired to expand and evolve and grow. That, I believe, is absolutely our nature. I don't care how old you are, how young you are. It's in us to do that. But we can't do that if we're holding lower energy and fear and impossibility. If we're going to hold that energy, we're not going to grow. And you know what? If we're not growing and expanding, then we're stagnant and we get sick. We don't do well. We don't, because we need to grow. I know for myself, I don't grow in ways I used to grow, right? When we're kids, we grow, we're physically as big as we're going to be, but energetically and consciousness-wise, I consider myself growing every moment. It's something I will never stop doing because I know the importance of it. I know it's my nature to grow. I know it's my nature to outgrow old beliefs that don't suit me anymore. I can't tell you each time I go, wow, I believed that, and I never realized how that's keeping me small and constricted. I have this a lot. And that's the power of expansion and being open to seeing more truth about you and seeing what you've been holding on to that is not helping you grow. The infinite mind of which you are a part imbues you with the capacity to think in large terms, to perceive great truths, and experience love in its highest form. I love this because when I was sitting in these chairs with you guys, and I wasn't even in any type of, I wasn't yet imagining I would be a practitioner or a minister. I was just listening to these beautiful words of wisdom. I didn't think this was true about me. I didn't think that I could have the capacity to think in large terms. I did not think that. I didn't know that infinite mind is something that's really working all the time inside of me. So if you are looking at this and saying, I don't have the capacity, I say you do. We all do. And it's so important for us to believe that about ourselves because that larger terms is going to be different for each one of us. But just to really accept and imagine something larger for you, whatever it is for you, because it is a part of who we are. You know, I think about the inventors, right? They were talk about people being viewed as crazy for their ideas. Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, those who created the cell phones, I don't know who they were. But look at these things. People, they weren't here in this reality. They went into their imagination. And look what they were able to bring in. Things that helped improve everybody's life. Everybody's life. Indoor plumbing. I'm always grateful for that. But, right, it took somebody to say, hey, here's an idea. Let's go bigger than what's here, right? And you can do that in your own life. If you feel stuck in any way in your own life, find out what that stuckness is and break free of it. Go to your imagination and draw in an idea that is going to bring you that expansion and growth and that joy of life. It's really about the joy of life. What brings joy to your life? So, although it might be a little bit difficult to break free of that fear, and you might have a hard time figuring, what do I want to expand into? Because you're here in your mind, you're here in your thinking part of you. What do we always say here? Go to the heart. When your mind is overwhelmed by what you're seeing and sensing, go to your heart to ignite a new vision. The heart will tell you. And it's always, I will tell you this, it's about a feeling state. If you go to the feeling state of what you desire your life to be, and just sit in it, imagination's going to take it right over and expand it and bring all kinds of ways in which to pull you into what your imagination has in store for you to bring your greater life into form. So I always have to have little steps. Here's some helpful steps for you. First, if you're in that fear state, stop fixating on the issue. Look away. Look away. Stop staring. My mother used to say that. Stop staring. Stop staring at it. Stop fixating on the issue. And I know I'm going to get pushback, but there's so many bad things happening in the world. We need to look at it. You can look at it all you want. Take a moment, will you, to stop. We owe it to ourselves, so stop looking at the issue. Turn within and focus on your higher power in your heart. Put on some nice music. Go outside in nature, just something that fills your soul. You all know what that is for you individually. I know you do. I know you do. Do that. Feel the reality you would like to experience and expand on that feeling state. It might just be love. I just want to feel love. Then feel love. Put a timer on for 5 minutes and just feel the love. Just vibrate in it. Feel it. Enjoy it. Then be grateful for the inner change that is creating a better reality for you. I know that when I do this, there's this shift that happens, something clicks in, and all of a sudden I've let go of that tension and that fear, and I've come back to a place of faith and connection and love, a place where I can just relax and I'm not stirred up. I love that place. And then let go and let Spirit take care of the how, because that's the energy that figures it out for you. By the way, this is like prayer treatment, what I just put up there. I thought I'd slide it in there. This is like how we do prayer treatment. We turn away, we recognize Spirit, we recognize our oneness with it, we claim what we desire in our life and our feeling state in our world. We're grateful, and we let it go. This is prayer, people. Take it. So imagination is the eye of the soul. And I love this quote because, our soul has these yearnings, these desires, and we turn away from them because we either think there's something wrong with them, or we've been taught we can't do that, or nobody else is doing it, how can I? But the imagination is your key to your soul, to letting it come out and play. Imagination hooks you up with that divine mind, that higher intelligence where all ideas live. The imagination is nourishing your soul. It's nourishing your soul. And that's why I loved what Lizzie sang today. That was so beautiful. There was one thing that said, it defies explanation. It defies explanation. Because the imagination isn't about the mind and our thinking. It's about something way bigger. It's spiritual. It's our divinity coming out without restriction anymore and guiding us and showing us and connecting with that creative process and allowing it to come in and open up your field of life and bring forward your greatest good that your soul is so yearning to be living. So the choice is yours. How are you going to use your imagination? Are you going to trust in spirit and the creative process and your power and your divine nature? Or are you going to go on the off-ramp of fear and suffer and fall apart and be diminished? I don't know about you guys, but I'm using my imagination for the good. I'm using my imagination to trust in spirit. I am using my imagination to go beyond what shows up in this world and open up to something bigger to come right in that's based on love and unity and kindness and compassion and goodness for all. That's a productive way to use our imagination. Thank you for listening, everyone.